Good evening, folks, and welcome to another OTF Connects webinar. I'm very excited to have you join us for Emma Ray, who is using templates in Mindomo for writing organization. I'm kind of excited for this one. I was going to sign up for it anyway because I have lots of opportunities that I'd love to use graphic organizers with students. She's from Upper Grand, and she has a lovely title of Elementary Inclusion Technology Coach. And I know lots of boards have different names, but that one really does sum up a lot in there. So I have a feeling she's very busy there. And I'm not surprised, lots of great people coming out of Upper Grand. And we welcome Emma to the OTF Connects webinar series as well. And please enjoy. Take it away, Emma.
Wow, thank you very much, Trish. Thank you very much for joining everybody tonight and taking your time out of your busy schedules. We're going to begin. I might as well move my next slide. This is my first time doing an OTF Connects, so I am a slash between A, very excited, and also B, very nervous. I'm going to try and keep a track to make sure that any lagging on the screen so that we're kind of together and give you time to explore some of the tools. So I am an elementary inclusion technology coach as part of the Upper Grand District School Board. We generally work with teachers who have students that have C equipment, and we help them find ways to manage and integrate their technology into their everyday classroom. So before we start, I kind of wanted to go and use some of those tools that Trish just talked you through, the clip art tools. I wanted to get an idea of where we should start today. So if you can select something and tell me whether this is going to be your first interaction with Mindomo, whether you've used it here and there, or if you're a total Mindomo Jedi. Great, awesome. Okay, so as we gather where everybody is, I will go through some of the things, some of the basics, because I see that there are a few people that it's our first time using Mindomo. So before we get to the templates and assigning assignments, I'll kind of go through some of the basics, just getting us familiar with the dashboard and how to start. And throughout it, if it is something that you've used as well here and there or quite a bit, we're going to be making some connections to make this application real. So hopefully by the end of tonight's session, we have something to take away and hopefully put to use in class. Okay, I am going to move on so I get a good sense of where we can start from. So I kind of put together a little agenda. This is really mainly to keep me more on track. I wanted to explain, in case it is some of your first time using Mindomo, it is an OSAPAC licensed software. It is free for all teachers and students in Ontario, which is awesome, amazing. You can use Mindomo on any platform, so it is web-based. It is also something that you can download to your computer. You can also use apps on Android and on iOS. So we will then look at what are the possibilities. We'll think about some actual kind of explorations and develop some questions, and then start to rethink and the scaffolding of writing assignments that you might do on a regular basis. I'm hoping by the end of it, we will be able to share some templates and ideas for future possibilities. So I do have some things that I've already created that I've put in a shared space that people can take away today. with the hope that it could be a shared space that we can collectively put some resources in there that we develop, if not by the end of today, but as we kind of move forward and find places that we can use it within our classes. So before we go on, I want us to make a connection. Take time to think of a writing activity that you teach. Maybe, hopefully, one that you still have to come this year. Maybe it's one that you kind of dread a little bit because there are those incidences with your students where you feel that it's either a struggle or it's difficult or it's hard to get started, or your students tap out, or they just have a block. And then I want you to think about how you normally structure the outline. So as you deliver that assignment to your students, what does the breakdown normally look like? What do they start with? What prompts or steps do you put in place? And also, just to layer that, what would you do if you could give them additional scaffolding or visuals? What would that look like, and how do you think it might help your students? And we may be talking about a group of your students, not necessarily the whole class, but a fraction of your students. So your ideas might change as we move along. You might start thinking, oh yeah, I forgot I do this one, and this is where they seem to have the problem. And that's great, but I would really like it if we could constantly try and think back and make it real to something that we actually use. I'm just going to skip past those. I'll come back in a little bit. So why Mindomo? For those people that have been using tech for a while in their classes, you might remember something called Inspirations. It's something we used to use in our school board a lot before we became a Google Apps for Education board. And Inspirations was a great starting point, and I loved how students would be able to use it in helping them to organize their ideas. So I found working with students that have particular learning needs, sometimes starting on a blank piece of paper is not the best way for them to get their ideas down. And a mind mapping piece of software like Mindomo now allows them to organize their ideas, use visuals to help tap into those ideas or help them connect and make connections. It allows them to focus on sections at a time. It also then allows them to take those ideas and pull all the text and put it into a Word document where they can then organize it, put it into paragraphs, listen back to it, and then hand it in so that it looks like kind of everybody else's written assignment. I found along the way, though, that Mindomo allows us to create lots of different things. And I found that students love to use it, and they often, once they get shown how to use it in a classroom situation, they will often take it and access it at home and start to create their own little banks, little mind maps around activities or interests that they like to do as just kind of a personal activity. So for students, there's a range of different reasons why we can use Mindomo. Not only does it allow us to organize and pull our information, but it also creates a really cool presentation mode where students can embed their voice. They can also embed a range of multimedia elements as well, like videos, images galore. I've also found for a teacher, it's been great to develop a teaching unit. So as you're starting a teaching unit and you start to put in the initial breakdown of what it is that you're going to do, Mindomo is a great way to organize that you can bring up as a presentation at the beginning of your lesson. You can share with your students the learning objectives. You can develop the success criteria right in there with the students. You can embed documents, videos, any kind of minds-on activities. And then you can add on it, and it will grow. And as it grows, you can see the progression of the working unit that you have kind of completed with your class. It also allows me to have some kind of input on developing and creating specific templates for students so that I can support them in a unique way. I can also create it so it complements what I'm doing in my lesson as well. So it's very personalized. So these two visuals just kind of show something we're going to look at today. This is kind of like obviously a Hamburger graphic organizer that I developed alongside a teacher, and we kind of tried to make it look very visual like a hamburger just to help students organize their thoughts. And then below, this is more of a bank of information that students constantly went back to input their information as they started to learn about the human systems. And then also a view that we'll have a look at after as well. This kind of shows how you can start with your mind map and then extract the text and pull it so that it is in a Google Doc or a Word document format. So especially in my current role, working with students that cannot organize their ideas with, you know, just starting from scratch, they're able to use something that's a lot more visual, that allows them those visual prompts. And when they're finished, they can then extract that, and then it looks like everybody else's. So, first of all, I think we should take a walk through the tools of Mindomo. I am going to encourage you to open it up in another window on your computer because it would be great for you to explore as well. And I do believe that for the most part we learn by doing and trying things out. For those people that, let me just go back a few. For those people that are using it for the first time, maybe not have added it, I did kind of put together this slide to show you. You can add it as a Google app if you are a Google Apps for Education board. And if you are signed in with your school board Gmail address, there is a login with Google button in Mindomo that allows you, that is the best way to log in. It will see that you are with a school board. And for people who are non-GAFE boards, you can visit the website. I see Trish just put in the link there. You can join a school board or an institution. So you go to the teachers and students if you haven't yet accessed Mindomo for the first time. So I am, oh, thanks. I am going to share my screen. Okay. And it actually did keep me logged in. So if you are exploring this on an iPad or a tablet, please know that the workspace doesn't look exactly the same. It looks very similar. I'm just kind of referring to my device at the moment too. There are certainly, they try and keep as many of the icons the same as possible. There are some things that obviously we are going to do that are unable to be done on the iPad, but I'll explain those as we kind of go. So as you log into Mindomo, this is my dashboard. I'm actually in a folder right now. You are able to create folders to keep things organized. And it's pretty straightforward. Students also, their dashboard looks like this when I click on Create. They get a range of options to create different mind maps. They can create a blank mind map. It kind of shows you how it's organized. Students do not see the mind map assignment. We are going to come back to that a little bit later. The different organizational ones are sometimes ones that I request that students use if we are setting something up. For the first, actually quite a bit, for the first few times, if I'm expecting students to create something on Mindomo, I give them a template. We do, however, always start with an exploring session. So the first ever time that they get to go on and have a look at it, it is no expectations, time to explore, check out the tools, just to get comfortable before they have the added element of creating something in it. So, I'm just going to start with just a blank mind map so that we can see as it creates. So whatever your title is, goes into your topic. This is called the parent topic. I'm just going to change the color of our parent topic because I want you to be able to see that it's outlined in blue. If it's outlined in blue, it's a live topic box. Now whatever I press is going to come off this topic box. So I have two useful buttons on my keyboard. I have my return button, which spits out a main topic, and I have my tab button that spits out a subtopic. So if I wanted to spit out another main topic, I would go back to my parent topic, so it was outlined in blue again, and I would spit out another main topic. Now, students will very quickly tell you that there is more than one way to do this, that I have an insert topic up here too. I also have the option to insert topic from the drop-down. So they will come up with lots of different ways. There is even more that they have told me how, oh, I found a different way. It's really good. They start to find what works for them and what sticks with them. So once you create topic boxes, this is where our subheadings go when we're organizing our work. And within here, I can then do a range of things. So all my tools at the side allow me to, I can change the color of my topic boxes if I wanted to organize. I can change the font in there. I can change the color of font. I can reorganize it so that it looks and appears different. I have to be on this one now. And then I can add any of these things at the side. So we'll just kind of go through the toolbar so that you can have a play too. And first of all, I'm just going to go to the multimedia. So in the multimedia, you are able to insert a link to a website. insert an attachment or something that you might have uploaded. These are all my images that I've used in past Mindomo that I've actually uploaded from my computer. Mindomo also has a series of clip art images. I have a bunch of categories too. I can Google search images. And those are not the images I really wanted. I wanted like a, a nice OTF one. And I can also put in YouTube videos or Vimeo videos. Adding an image is really easy. You just basically click on it. If you don't want it and you want to switch it up, you just keep clicking the image. So it's really, really simple. I'm just going to move this up. So I have a massive workspace. I'm going to show you. I have a zoom out and a zoom in here, so I can zoom out my image to show you just how big my mind map can get. Sometimes students zoom out, zoom in, they get a little clicker crazy, and they might lose their mind map. And if they lose their mind map, there's a tool right here that allows them to center their mind map, and it does kind of prompt you and tell you. So then if I click on, it brings it back. I also have icons that I can use. Of course, the students really love the icons. I use the icons not only just to decorate their mind map, but for some students I get them to use them to identify which pieces they have completed or finished. So if they put a green check, I know that they've worked on it and they've completed it. If they put a kind of red check, it's like, I need to do this next. It's just kind of a neat little communication system that you can set up with your students. It allows them to use the icons because they love them so much, but it also gives them a meaning for why we're using them. I am able to add notes to my topics. I'm just going to move it to the side here so then you can see. So I can, if students need to write a lot more, rather than put it in a subtopic box, I've worked with some students that have a lot of information that they want to add. And sometimes working in the subtopic box, they feel a little bit constrained. They don't like it that sometimes their text is a little bit too small. So adding a note allows them to write a little bit more freely. And once they do have to click on the X to get rid of it, this does not delete it. It's the little garbage can right here that deletes it. And then when I actually get rid of it, you will see it puts a little note icon at the side. And it gives me, when I hover over it, it gives me a view of what's in there. So the notes are really useful. I can hyperlink to a document I often have where we have a breakdown of different expectations for assignments. I will hyperlink to something in our Google Drive. We also have a wonderful tools on one of our school websites that allows us to download information about different topics. So sometimes I add additional PDFs on those topics and put them as extra reading or additional resources that they might refer to. So allowing to add different attachments. I can find something that's on my computer and attach that, or I can just insert a web URL to allow them to do additional. Okay, good question, Jen. Google Read and Write does not yet work in the notes. Jen just asked if Google Read and Write works in the notes section. Our school board does use Google Read and Write. And unfortunately, it did used to work with Mindomo, but it doesn't work currently, which is a shame. I did ask the developers of Mindomo recently about this problem, and I think it's more of a Google Read and Write issue than it is a Mindomo issue. They did tell me that they are working on having a word predictor, a built-in word predictor as part of their tools, but they weren't so sure when that was going to be released. So stay tuned. And yes, Trish, that's the voice note too is a good tool to use alongside this so that students can talk in and have it typed for them. So the other tools down here, there's a task info one. I haven't used this a great deal. I would imagine it's a great tool to use if you were using it as a staff member with your colleagues. You can basically prioritize different parts of your mind map. You can set it, you can assign it to different people that are collaborating on it. So it's a great way, I guess, to keep you on track. My comments little tool allows me to add comments to my students' work as I go in and check where they're at. I can also give them some real feedback, especially if there are things that I think, are great, they need to work on. It's just a neat tool to be able to have that open communication. The little light bulb is called Mindomo Bookmarks. Mindomo Bookmarks is an additional Chrome extension that sits at the top right here. And what that allows me to do is, if I am on a website and I'm researching something, the extension allows me to do my researching kind of uninterrupted. So I can be finding information or finding images that I want to use. I'll just wait till it comes up. And when I find information that I want, and I'm like, oh, I actually want to be able to put that into my Mindomo. If I right-click, oh, it's really hard because you don't get to see this, but this is my right-click box. And in my, where it normally says copy image, save image, one of the options here is a send to Mindomo. And I can carry on scrolling and reading and finding information on the website, which is a little laggy. I apologize for that. I'll wait. I'll keep it still. And I might find bits of information that I also want to send. So here I have some particular, I want to know that they reach speeds of 60 or 70 miles an hour. So I'm going to select that, and again, if I right-click, I'm going to send this to Mindomo 2. And then when I go back to my Mindomo, I can go to my little bookmarks here. And at the side, it's now kept it so that I can now return, and this is where I'm going to put in, I am going to put this image. right here. And I'm going to put this text, either I can put it as a subtopic or I can put it as notes. So I really like that extension. The last time I used it with some students, it's a little fiddly to get set up, especially, or I don't know whether it was just because our school board, connecting and linking our school board login was a little bit tricky. But I find it really useful when students do use it because it really does help them not get distracted with constantly copying and pasting. Instead, they're looking at things, they're finding images that they want to use, or they're finding snippets of information, not full sentences, but, you know, phrases, facts of information that they want to be able to use. And they're able to kind of continue to do that, send it to Mindomo, send it to Mindomo, and then go back and start to plop it in where it needs to go and organize it. So this is an example of a template that I created alongside a classroom teacher to help her students organize their animal research that they were doing. So you can see here this is a very basic mind map, but it has the ability to guide the student into the areas that they are going to find out about and then add their information. Okay. Hi Vic, how does this work with text that is copied directly from a document? So, are you meaning like a different document but not a web page? Okay, you mean plagiarism. So you notice when I said, I'll just go back. Here, I often encourage my students to not copy and paste like whole sentences and whole paragraphs. So we often have a conversation of when we're researching, the only things that we copy to use are short facts that they can then put into their own sentences. So we often have lots of conversations around not copying full sentences to take that to be as your own. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. But we often do guide them as in it should not be a full sentence that we copy. It should be the bare bones or a phrase that we are able to put into our own writing with our own understanding. Yeah, definitely, Jen. Like a jot note. It's just kind of like taking jot notes. It does totally take practice, and it is a constant conversation, I find, and it's kind of a skill too. But I found in the past little while that if students are just asked to take particular core words or main topic words, they find it a lot easier to put it into their own words. And I found that when students copy too much, it's such a difficult task to reword it in your own words. Whereas if you just take the main idea and then put it into a sentence that makes sense to you. Okay, I am. So, do we have everybody able to access Mindomo? It'd be great if we use some of our tools here to give us a yes or a no. Yeah, if you can just use the ticks so we can see. If you're able to either install, create an account, get on to play for a little while, I would really like it if we could have some time to explore. And then if you have any particular questions before we go into showing how to create an assignment. Okay, that's great. I like the yeses. The yeses work well. Okay, so what I would like you to do is, if you can get into Mindomo, if you are able to just create a mind map of your own. And if you've already used Mindomo, you can go and see if you can try and find something else or a new aspect that you may not have used before, or try to create one of the other mind maps. And I'll give you a few minutes to explore that before we move on. Okay.
Emma, looks like Vicki might have a question for you.
Yeah, I just saw that. So, Vicki, you want a shared mind map? I'm just going to go back to mine. Okay. I'm just wondering whether you're, Vicky, you on a, I guess I can look here. If you're on a tablet? Nope, you're on like a web-based one. So I do know that, Vicky, if you're looking at a Mindomo that's been shared with you and you only get the view-only version, it's not you don't have editing rights. So I'm just interested if you were able to sign in to Mindomo so that it looks like this. And that you went to create. Okay. So when you go to create, then it shows with and these icons, is it these icons that we are missing at the top here? Yeah. You should have all of them like this. There's no difference to my account to yours. I'm guessing you're online. Is it this one that, hold on a minute. I am going to share something else. Did you, hold on. I have an idea. Did you download it and have this version? I'm just wondering whether this is any different. This is, oh no, it's pretty similar. I was going to say, this is the downloaded version that I downloaded onto my computer. Okay. Okay, those ones. Okay, sorry. I will switch back now. No worries, as long as we have. Okay, so hopefully you've had time to have a look at some of the tools that we just went through. Just so that you know, I do, in the presentation that we started with, I have added a few slides here that can walk you through some of those basics to get started. So this is good for you to go back to if you're not so sure. Some of the things here, the little buttons that we haven't really gone over, they're pretty self-explanatory, but this kind of guides you through what they can be used for. Well, don't get me started on shortcuts and Chrome extensions. That's why I have so many. Good question. So if they're using the school iPads, Mindomo, the Mindomo app allows you to connect and save your things. It allows you to sync them online. So they can sync to your online account that you can access when you sign on via Chrome, on a Chromebook or on a standalone. You can send a PDF of the mind map as well via email. If you wanted to extract the information and put it in an outline, I think that tool, that ability is only available on the online version. Okay, so Mary Beth, that's what we're going to get to. I want to show you a couple of the cool tools, and I want to show you how to change it to an outline. So thanks for that. So up here we didn't go to these tools. Within this little toolbar here, I have a lot of my options as per a usual online document. I can save, even though it does auto save, I can force a save here. I can also make a copy of something, so you know, a lot of the things that hopefully we're going to share today or kind of work on, the ones that I've originally shared with you, I've shared with everybody in a Google Doc, in a Google Drive folder. You're very welcome to go on and to make a copy of your own that you can then go and use yourself. To pull it and kind of, they use the word download, and I wish it was more of an export, because this is where we go if we want to pull that text and put it into a Google Doc. So we go download, and you get to see all the amazing formats that we can download a mind map into, which is pretty amazing. I haven't used many of them really. I have used Microsoft PowerPoint for some students that kind of like to keep their mind map in that format. It's really been more for them to take away as a keepsake. We go to either the Microsoft Word format or the text file. Kids seem to remember text file better because it's TXT at the end, and it just makes more sense. We're pulling the text from the mind map. And because we work within Google and we have Google accounts, instead of download, we click export to Google. And then this is what we see. First of all, we see kind of an outline which keeps the parent topic as the title. It keeps the main topics as the subheadings, and any information that's put in those subtopics come under there. Any images that are in the map do not transfer over. So once you have this view, because I'm in Google, I'm actually now going to open it with Google Docs. And it now puts this into my drive. Yeah, I guess you would choose MS Word, Jen, if you're a 365 board. So now I can, with our tools that our students use Google Read and Write, they're able to listen back to the text, they're able to reorganize it, add more information, plump up their sentences, add any kind of punctuation or anything that they might need. But now puts it into a format that whether, you know, your Microsoft or your Google, you have additional tools now that makes this part of the work accessible to those students that might need it. So another cool tool that I want to show you as well is under the tools. So under tools here, there is one that's called View Changes for Map. And what this does is as you create your map, or as your students create their map, Mindomo creates a little movie of all the changes that are made. So I can see here that 54 changes have been made, and I can play this, and it will show you how it was created. Now, it tags my name. I'm the only one that worked on this map. But I want you to think about if this was a shared, a collaborative map, because Mindomo, you can have children, a group of children working on one map. And they can all be on at the same time. So if you have this going on, you can obviously imagine that I can see who is doing what. So for all of those collaborative projects that you might have students do, and I'm sorry, I know it's kind of making my page refresh a lot because it's moving around, but you are now able to pinpoint who did most of their work. Another neat thing that I like about this is I like watching this back with the students once they've finished an element of their work on Mindomo. It explains a lot. You will either notice that, you know, they spent a lot of time putting in images, taking out images, putting in another image. And often we look at that as a very surface level, you know, oh, they waste too much time putting in images. But when you start asking, why did you do that? Why did you change that? And I've had some really interesting conversations that they are really trying to find that image that represents what it is that they want to show. So it develops a lot of good conversations, right? And it also shows you that if they didn't really do anything that lesson, then it makes them accountable for that. So I really, really like those tools. Oh yeah, that would be good. Social story. Okay, let's move on to creating our templates and assignments. Don't really want to go back to. So, as well as doing all these amazing things, you can create something like this that I've shown, or the Hamburger paragraph, and you can assign this to your whole class as a starting point to really get them going and give them some guidelines, kind of make them feel, I find that it makes them feel a little bit more safe about where and what they're looking for. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard because I want to walk you through this. It's a little bit different. So if I go to create, remember I mentioned that you will see a mind map assignment option. Students don't have this option. But I'm going to click on my mind map assignment, and I'm going to put my animal research. And I'm going to create. So this is where, as a teacher, I get to set up my assignment for them. I have my title, I have my description, so I can put my description, And then I decide, so how are my students going to complete this assignment? Are they going to create individual mind maps? Well, maybe down the road they might do. But I do feel for, the first few times that they really need help not having to manage not only the tools of creating the mind map themselves and organizing it, even if you do the bare bones and at least give them kind of some sort of visual representation of how their information needs to be organized. So this is where I would go create individual mind maps from the following map. So if I select that one, this then allows me to choose the template that I have already created ahead of time. So I'm going to select the animal research one that I created, and I'm going to add it. Now, it does show here that I have attached that, but until I click Update Assignment, you won't see it. So we click Update Assignment, and now I can see the map that I've attached. At any point, I can view this as a student, which again, I also like, because if you're anything like me, I want to know what it's going to look like when they get in there that day. I don't want any surprises. So I can always view it as a student, and I can see what their view looks like in a little bit. So I've named it, I've given them instructions, I've attached my mind map, and now down here, I really have to look at adding my students. So there's no students, and I can add my students from here. I have several ways that I can add students. I can put in their email addresses. However, if your students are connected to Google Classroom, there's an option to add from Google Classroom right here. So if you do use Google Classroom, this is the easiest way. If you don't use Google Classroom, adding everybody's emails could be a little bit overbearing. So for every assignment that you create, you are given an access code. Students can access this assignment by putting in this access code that I'll walk you through in a little while. So while I see it, I'm just going to make a note of my assignment code. And I'm going to go and add students from my Google Classroom. Now, depending on how many classrooms you have, this sometimes takes a little while. I actually don't want my class. And I'm going to select all my students, and I'm going to add them. So now when I go back, I can see my students. And I can see my map, and I will show you now as I view it as a student. So this is what it looks like when your students click on. Just a little heads up, if they scroll around, they can actually move the map around here, but it does not move them down the page that they need to go to. So they actually move down the page here until they see Start Assignment. And then they start their assignment. As soon as they click Start Assignment, you have access of their assignment. Right here, it says, I have a student that started my assignment. So if I click on Discuss, I can see everything that they do to their assignment. I can add comments here. I can open up their actual map to see it, kind of, move around it, have a closer look, check in on things. So as soon as they start it, I have access that I can go and check on it. Oops. Which is a really useful tool as a teacher. I now don't, I don't have to worry about them sharing it with me, me not being able to find it. I can access it at any point. So I did mention that if you're not connected to Google Classroom, then you can use your assignment code to join assignments. So you have two drop downs here. We have one for more, which has kind of your information, your account information. And then here at the side, students also have this, have another bunch of options. And down here you have join an assignment. So if I click on join assignment, students are able to add their code and click join. Which will then take me straight to the assignment. On their home page, assignments look like this. So they look a little bit different. They have a little icon, so they're easy to identify, that are different than their regular mind maps that they have created. So again, I created in the slideshow, I've done some screenshots of the steps that you would take if you were creating an assignment for students that walk you through. So our last part this evening is how do we take all of those kind of ideas that we've gone through and all of the tools of Mindomo that kind of make even thinking about writing activities a little differently. How do we take those and start to create some different types of graphic organizers? So what writing assignments do you think that you teach that would benefit from this type of scaffolding? Like, it'd be great if we could share any in the chat. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, science research. I've done a bunch on science and social studies. It's a great way to collect those ideas and share them. We don't really have time to go through the presentation tools, but you guys can for sure. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's such a good tool for you to use too. Cool. So I put a bunch of graphic organizers into a Google folder that I have the link for here that we can share with you. Oh, that'd be awesome for reflection on a field trip too. That'd be so nice to import those pictures and make it personal. Yes, definitely a book report. In the Google folder that Trish has just shared the link to, it is divided up into, there is a folder for Mindomo. Let's see if I can get there, make it a bit easier. Okay, there's a folder for the Mindomo graphic organizers that I kind of showed tonight. There's just a few in there. And then the rest of the things are, the graphic organizers that, for sure, give our kids the scaffolds that they might need. But I thought it would be neat to take something that's going to mean something for you in your class, something that might be coming up that you're looking at maybe next term, and take the bare bones of something that might appear in a Google Doc or a PDF and work on creating it in a Mindomo space with those extra visuals, with there might be some embedded links to external sites, there might be some attachments to additional information that you already have or additional work that you've already done in class to kind of layer that Mindomo, to layer the graphic organizer with resources that students can dip into to help them develop their ideas better. So we have a little bit of time, and it would be awesome if you could just have a look through some of these. Some of them are really simple, like the cause and effects, informational pre-writing. If it's around a particular topic, how much more effective would an informational pre-write be if we were able to give those kids visuals of things, things that they might not already have personal experiences with, but are able to kind of look at images and develop some of their ideas from them. So if I give you a little bit of time to have a look at those and see if you can take something and put it into a Mindomo. That sounds great, Trish. Thanks. Hi, Mary Beth. I didn't open my Google Doc in Mindomo. I looked at one of the Google Docs that I'd created, and I was taking the ideas from here, and I was transferring those ideas and creating a graphic organizer within my Mindomo. So I was taking my planet research, and I can take average temperature and weather conditions, and I can put that in one of my main topics here. Whew. No worries. So our timer went off so that it allows us some time just for questions or suggestions, or I know you guys were great at coming up with things that you might use it for sure, essay writing, book reports, research, science and social studies research. Oh, really? I didn't know that, Jen. So if you cut and paste a list with bullets, it'll break it into branches for you. That's neat. So if I kind of do, well, that doesn't have bullet points. Let me give this bullet points. Sorry, I just want to check that out. Oh yeah, look at that. That's awesome. That's really cool. So I feel like we've had lots to digest today, and I appreciate you sticking with me as we kind of had a look and tried to cover enough of the basics for people who have never used Mindomo before, and hopefully showing some different tools of people that might have used it here and there, including the creating assignments and using templates. If I can just quickly show you, I didn't get to, when we created when we went to create an assignment, and I chose to put in this mind map from the following. I didn't get a chance to talk about the option below, which is work collaboratively on a new map, or you can give them a map. So if you wanted kids to work together in groups, I'm not so sure whether you'd want your whole class to work all in one group. That might be a little bit crazy to have so many students on one mind map at one time. Also knowing that when other kids go onto a mind map and it's in collaborative mode, the undo button does not work. So that's always a good thing to make sure your kids know that. I always tell them to never delete anything, just add, and then when we're ready, we come off and we edit. So if you want kids to work in groups, you can identify like the number of groups that they're working in. I know you can't see this this drop down here, but when I chose groups of, when I click on that, I get you can set your group number to 4, to 5, to 6, whatever. Now what happens when your students go into their assignment is the first person, when we've done this, I've identified like kind of a main group person. So I've told them that they're going to access the assignment first. They go in and they put their name. After that, all their other members can go in, and what they'll do is they will see their friend's name there, and they attach themselves to that name because they're part of that group. If a child attaches themselves to another group, no worries. It is pretty easy to move them into a different group, and it's pretty self-explanatory kind of when you go and have a look at what group they're in. But they are, as long as you have someone do it first and then get everybody to go in and attach themselves to that person's name, you can kind of see how your groups are formed. And then students can work on the mind map at the same time together, which is great. So we have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we did tonight? What does the question mark on the side do? So, where's my question mark? Thanks, Watson. It for sure is a steep learning curve, applying it to your class. I would maybe suggest, when I talked before about using it for my own planning as a teacher, I'd maybe start just kind of experimenting that way for you to get used to it. And if nothing else, it's a great way to attach and keep all your documentation from a unit of a unit of work that you're doing as a class, as well as being an engaging way to start your lesson by looking at the mind map and moving around it. Oh, the video tutorials. Yes, there are a bunch of video tutorials. Sorry. The question mark here, video tutorials, bunch of video tutorials that Mindomo have created that are really good. They can, guide you through doing different activities on their mind map too. Oh, it totally would be cool to do a mind map escape room. I'm a little bit giddy about that thought. That would be really neat. Yeah, I think students would definitely fool us and have us trapped in there for some time. They managed to work their way around this tool in no time. So, as we just return, I did create a Google Slides version as well of this presentation. So please feel free to access that and take it away too. And spread the word if there is anybody else in your buildings, in your school buildings that want to know a little bit more about Mindomo, then please feel free to share this and spread the word of the awesome tools that it holds. And thank you very much for all spending your Wednesday evening.
All right,
welcome, Vic. I hope you like it.
I'm going to jump in here right now. Yes, this is terrific. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if I could have folks just stick around for another minute or two, and then I'm sure Emma would stay around if there are any other questions you think of. So I'm just going to advance the slides, then I'll come back to her final one. So whenever we have OTF webinars, we'd love to have your feedback, and that's pretty important to us. And she gave us some ideas of maybe other webinars to have for sure. A part 2, this is your chance to put that kind of thing in there. And as Emma mentioned, this is her first webinar, so I'm sure she would love to hear some constructive criticism as well, and any positives that you can share with her, that'd be lovely. We do have several other webinars. We are stopping next week for the break, but then we start up again in January, and we go till April. And there is additional funding, so there are going to be lots of tech and math and Kindy, etc., and all kinds of topics based webinars coming up. So please make sure you check those out. We'd really like that. And a quick reminder that indeed we do have, it's still available at $450 to OTF affiliate members. If you want to apply for any of the AQ courses, check that out as well too. Pretty important. As I put this one up here, I'm going to share with you some other links, if I go get them, to your certificate that you get, and another way to get to the feedback form. And then, like I mentioned before, you are going to be given a link tomorrow to the resources. And the resources include this recording, which I will be stopping shortly. And we look forward to having you visit our website because there's lots on there. So at this time, I want to officially thank Emma. I know I got tons of ideas. I'm very excited to show this with other colleagues that I know work with many students. And somebody had a comment in there about special needs students. For sure, I work with students with learning disabilities, and now I know how I can use Mindomo even deeper with them. Really looking forward to that. So once again, thank you so much, Emma. I'm going to stop the recording, and I will give folks just a few minutes in the room, and then when you're done, you just simply close the window, and that's how you log out. So once again, thanks, Emma, very much.